In this video, we're going to look at using right triangles to find all of the remaining trig functions when we're given some information about our other functions. But first, we want to look at an example like this. So it's asking us to name the quadrant in which our angle theta lies, and we're told that the sine of theta is less than 0 and the tangent of theta is greater than 0. So in order to do this, we need to consider, remember the ASTC thing that we talked about. So this is saying that all of our functions are positive in this. Sine and its reciprocal are positive in this quadrant. Tangent and its reciprocal are positive here, and cosine and its reciprocal are positive in the fourth quadrant. So we need to figure out what quadrant has a negative sine and a positive tangent. So the sine is negative, and so the sine is positive in the second and first quadrant, which means it's negative in the third and fourth quadrant, and the tangent is positive in the first and third quadrant. So because this is negative, right, in quadrants 3 and 4, and this is positive in quadrants 1 and quadrant 3, the two that they have in common are quadrant 3, right, quadrant 3. So we know that the tangent is positive here, and we know that the sine is negative here. And that's because the y-coordinate is negative, right? And then the tangent's positive because both the x and y coordinate are negative. When you divide them, you get a positive tangent. So we're going to use this to help us in our next example. So this example says the value of sine and cosine are given. We want to find the exact value of our 4 remaining trig functions. So this says that the sine of theta is negative 3/5 and the cosine is 4/5. So we're looking to figure out what quadrant theta is in when we know that the sine is negative and the cosine is positive. So again, remember the sine was negative in quadrants 3 and 4. The cosine's positive in quadrants 1 and 4, which means this tells us that we are in quadrant 4 because the sine is negative in quadrant 4 and the cosine is positive in quadrant 4. So now we need to draw our right triangle. So we can draw a triangle here. So here's our triangle. And this is theta here. Now this triangle is not really drawn to scale. I just drew a triangle in the fourth quadrant. We're told that the sine is negative 3/5. We know sine is the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. So our hypotenuse is 5. And the opposite leg, its length is 3, and it's in a negative direction because it's a negative y value. And then the cosine is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So again, hypotenuse is 5, and the adjacent side is 4. So let's find the remaining trig functions. So we need to find the tangent of theta, and then we need to find the secant of theta, the cosecant of theta, and the cotangent of theta. So the tangent of theta is just the opposite divided by the adjacent. So it's 3/4, but it's going to be negative because this 3 is in the negative direction. Also, we know that tangent is negative in the fourth quadrant. The secant is just the reciprocal of the cosine, and we're given the cosine right here. So we can just take its reciprocal, 5/4. The cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine, and again, we're given that, so it's negative 5/3. And the cotangent is the reciprocal of the tangent, so it's negative 3/4. Whoops, sorry, negative 4/3. It's reciprocal, negative 4/3. So those are our 4 remaining trig functions, and we just used the fact that we know that the sine is negative and the cosine is positive in quadrant 4, and drew our triangle to help us figure that out.